Hi, my name is Emily. Today I'm going to show you how to paint with alternative brushes and how to do a paper weaving. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is decorate our papers. We're going to start with two pieces of paper that are the same size. So these can be any size that you want, but it's just important that they're both the same size. I'm going to do these papers two different ways. I'm going to do the first paper using warm colors and the second paper using cool colors. So I have those all laid out here on my palette. For my palette, I'm using a piece of tin foil. I've actually used this piece of tin foil before for another palette, so tin foil is a really good recycled palette you can use. Once you're done with it, you can just rinse all the paint off and let it dry and then use it again. So the brushes that I'm using today, or the alternative ways I'm going to paint on my paper, are with a sponge, with a plastic fork, and a plastic knife, a piece of cardboard, and a piece of deflated bubble wrap. You can use any piece of plastic that you have. You can use any other brushes or alternative brushes that you want. This is just what I already had. And then I'm also going to use my fingers in some places too, which is why I'm wearing gloves. Okay, so for my first paper, I'm going to use all warm colors. So there's no right or wrong way to do this. I'm going to start with yellow and orange. I'm just going to start putting texture on my paper. I'll put some up here. Okay, we'll put some red in. I'm using my cardboard piece now. This piece of cardboard I'm using is from the flap of a cereal box. I'm just going to scrape the paint across. You can see this is giving a different look than the sponge. So the really cool thing about this is, depending on what materials you use to apply your paint, you're going to kind of get a different look. Okay, I'm going to go in with my finger now and put on some yellow. Do some fingerprints. I'm going to use my knife to scrape. A knife or a fork makes really cool designs too. I like using these tools. Put this in my paint. I'll use my sponge to add more red. So this project is very experimental, this painting part of it. So like I said, no right or wrong way to do it. You can use these tools to get, the look that you want. Okay, so this is my first paper. I'm going to start working on my cool colors. Okay. So I'm going to start with the cardboard this time. Green, some blue. I'm going to use the other part of my sponge now. And my purple. Put some on with my finger. Use my fork for this one. My knife. I'll use my plastic for this one. I'm just going to press it on so that the paint kind of mixes together. Alright, so there's my cool color paper. So now I'm going to let my two papers dry. And once they're dry, we'll come back and I'll show you how to weave them together. So now my papers are dry. So we are going to start measuring and cutting them so that we can weave them together. We are going to measure on the white side, so the back side of our paper, so that we don't see any pencil or marker lines on the front where it's painted. The amount that you're cutting or the amount that you're measuring is up to you. So on this project, I'm going to make 1/2 inch lines. All right, so this is what my two papers should look like now. Remember, it doesn't matter which measurements you do on which paper, but we need one paper that looks like this and one paper that looks like this. Now we're going to start cutting our paper. We're going to cut these in two different ways, so we'll start with this one. We're going to fold this paper like this. And then we are going to start making cuts on all of these lines, and we are going to stop right here at this line. So we're going to leave this part uncut on both sides. The reason that I folded it over is so I could get the middle and I could make sure that I don't cut on the top parts. Okay, so I have all my sections cut. We're going to open it up and we have this crease in the middle, so we're going to fold it back the other way gently to get rid of that crease. Okay, so this is what our first paper should look like. Now for our next paper, we're going to cut these to be the pieces we're going to weave inside our first paper. You could go ahead and cut them all out at once. I'm going to cut them one at a time as I go so that I keep my same design that I have on this paper. But since it's abstract, it's really up to you. So I'm going to cut one out to start with, and we're going to weave it in. So when we weave, we want to use the pattern over, under, over, under, over, under. So we're going to do that with this strip, weaving over and under all of these flaps that we have. So I'm going to go over the first one, under the second one, over, under, over, under, over, under, kind of picking them up as I go. Put that all the way over to the side. Okay, so this cool color paper that I put in is going over and under every other strip of the warm color paper that I have. And we're going to do the same thing, weave it through, but this time we're going to do it the opposite way. So here I went under the warm paper, so this time I'm going to start with over the warm paper, so that it's always opposite to the one I did before, and that's how we're going to get the squares. After it's through, we want to slide it all the way over to the first paper. Make sure it's in there really tight. Okay, so I'm starting to have my squares. I did the opposite. Now for my third paper, I'm going to do the opposite of the one before, and we're going to continue that all the way down our paper. Okay, so our paper weaving is complete. Now we do have some of these edges that are still coming up a little, so if you want, you can glue those down. This paper is pretty tight in here, so the paper probably won't go anywhere, but I'm just going to paint a little bit of glue underneath these so that they stay down. You could also use a glue stick for this. So we have our 1/2 inch weaving and we have our 1 inch weaving. This is actually maybe a little bit more than 1 inch big, but you can see the difference in your results if you use, if you measure smaller strips than measuring bigger strips. They both look really cool, but just a little bit different. Thanks for watching. I hope you all had fun. If you like what you created and want to share it with us, please send us a message on Facebook or tag us on Instagram. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Thanks.